Hey there, Jeremy Weiss here with Weiss Tech Hockey, and in this presentation I'm going to discuss what I call the 3 areas of hockey dominance. Now, I know that title sounds a little dramatic, but the reality is if you implement the information I'm about to share with you into your hockey development strategy, you'll be miles ahead of your opponent every time you step on the ice. Now, this video will be beneficial for both players and coaches, and even parents who want to be on board with their players' development. So let's go ahead and get started. The 3 areas of hockey dominance are physical skills, mental skills, and physical conditioning. Now we can go ahead and break each of these areas down into subcategories and get really specific with this, which we will, but at the end of the day, the best players at any age group, that's right, I said any age group, are going to be the ones who can perform the best in each of these 3 areas. Neglect even one of these areas, and we're giving our opponent the opportunity to gain an advantage over us, which is the opposite of what we want to do. So we're going to start with physical skills. Now we all know hockey is an extremely dynamic game. There's so much going on at so many different levels of cognition. Our strategy is going to be to systematically eliminate as much thinking as possible on the physical and tactical aspects of the game so that our players' brains can be free to function at higher levels during gameplay. Now I know that might sound a little bit confusing, so let me give you a quick example. There are 3 key components that go into an effective skating stride. Proper knee bend, correct pushing angle, which is at the side at about a 45-degree angle, and a full extension including the toe snap with a full recoil back to the leg's starting position. Now that's obviously a lot to think about, and if a player had to worry about all of that on the ice just to take a basic skating stride, the likelihood of he or she being able to read, anticipate, and react at any level of proficiency is extremely low. So what we need to do is teach and reinforce proper technical skills until they become second nature. Our players should be able to execute the 3 elements of a skating stride, for example, properly with every single skating stride of every single game without ever having to think about whether he or she is doing it properly. Now, obviously, skating isn't the only physical skill that players need to be able to perform in their sleep. A few years ago, I put myself through an interesting thought exercise. I wanted to map out all of the skills a hockey player needed to be able to perform. So I sat down, I wrote out every single variation of every single skill in hockey that I could think of, and I might have missed a few, but I think I got most of it. I knew the list would be big, but I was surprised at how big it really was. Here's what I came up with. Under skating skills, we have forward skating in a straight line, inside edges, outside edges, forward crossovers, 5-step crossovers for drive skating, V-starts, crossover starts, 2-foot stop, inside edge stop, outside edge stop, crossover stop, backwards C-cuts, backwards cross-unders, backward 3-step cross-unders for drag skating, pivots forward to backward to the left and right sides, pivots backward to forward to the left and right sides, inside reverse pivots in both directions, inside mohawks on both directions, and power turns in both directions. Now that's just skating. At some point you've got to get the puck on your stick and hopefully be able to execute the following while maintaining proper skating technique on everything we just mentioned. So here we go on stick handling. Stationary stick handling to the left side, right side, and center of the body. Toe drag, deking, puck protection and body positioning, puck control while skating, passing, cushion puck while receiving, and sweep while delivering. Touch passes, drop passes, saucer passes, bank passes, chip passes for breakouts, and backhand passes. If everything goes as planned, hopefully at some point you get a shot on net. So you better have a solid shot selection to choose from. You've got your wrist shot, snap shot, slap shot, one-timer, deflections, backhanders, and your flip shot for dump-ins. Now, obviously it takes years to become 100% proficient at all of these skills, but that's all the more reason to begin implementing these training methods as soon as possible. Structured training sessions are the key to making this happen, and it can and should be happening even at the youngest age groups. As I mentioned earlier, our objective is to get our players to become so well skilled that we can psychologically get skills out of the way, so to speak, opening up mental real estate for the more complex aspects of the game. This development strategy will allow our players to think the game more quickly and clearly than the opponent. So what are the mental skills that we should be teaching our players? Well, I'm glad you asked. On the same day that I penciled out all the physical skills of the game, I also went through and mapped out all the mental aspects of the game, which include both tactical skills and positional or situational understanding. Under defensive tactics, we have gap control, force versus contain strategy, angling, checking, pinning, one-on-ones, two-on-ones, two-on-twos, three-on-twos, and defensive support. For offensive tactics, we have triangulation, cycling, front and backside support, delays, give and goes, and angling and body positioning on forecheck. In the neutral zone, we have area passing, timing, neutral zone support, and back checking, which sort of happens in all three of the zones depending on where the turnover occurred. Continuing along with the mental skills side of the equation, we progress into positioning. Now, the objective with positioning is not only to be in the right place at the right time, but our players must be capable of doing the right thing while in the right place at the right time. Or in other words, applying the proper tactic while in the proper position. For example, let's say the other team has the puck in the corner and we're in the defensive zone. It's great if our strong side defenseman is near the puck carrier, in proper position, and ready to make a play. But if he forces what he should have contained, that's a huge problem. Our players need to be able to read and react both positionally and tactically in order to execute at the highest level. Now, in case you haven't noticed, many of the tactical skills can also be developed to the point where they become instinctual, meaning players don't have to think about them anymore. Just like our objective with the physical skills, we want to develop these mental, tactical skills to the point where our players no longer have to think about how to react. So, continuing along with our example, the decision of whether to force or contain when the other team has the puck in the defensive corner can be made long before the defenseman steps on the ice. Our players should be able to simply recognize the cues because they've been there a million times in practice and then react correctly without having to make a conscious decision every single time. Once a player gets to the point where he or she is no longer thinking about the physical and tactical skills of the game, but acting and reacting instinctually, the game slows down for that player and his or her effectiveness greatly increases. Developing a player's physical and mental skills is obviously extremely important, but it's flat out not enough if we truly want our players to reach their highest and best. So our third area of hockey dominance is the one that's most often overlooked: physical conditioning. Now let me start by saying that anytime you hear about something that is commonly overlooked, your ears should perk up because that means there's an area where you can gain an advantage over your opponent. And this is absolutely one of those areas. Now, without getting into a whole bunch of Jeremy Weiss personal history, let me just say this. I've played some pretty decent hockey in my day with some pretty decent players, including quite a few who are in the show now. And even at very high levels of play, including junior A hockey in Ontario and college hockey, I was always surprised at how few players on my teams ever got into the weight room with any form of consistency. There's a huge advantage to be gained by the player who consistently executes a top-notch, hockey-specific conditioning program both in the off-season as well as the in-season. Developing our strength and conditioning will not only help us to physically outmuscle our opponent and go harder and faster for longer without getting us tired, but there are many intrinsic benefits as well that play a huge role on the ice. Some of these include confidence, leadership, motor coordination, and a whole host of others. Weiss Tech Hockey is associated with a few high-quality, hockey-specific off-ice training programs that we use and recommend. You can check out our website at weisstechhockey.com for more details on these programs. So those are the three areas of hockey dominance. The interesting thing about implementing this development strategy is that each of these areas play into each other, and as one improves, it brings aspects of the other two up with it. For example, as a player's leg strength develops because of his or her off-ice conditioning program, he or she is able to execute and hold a better knee bend, which results in an improved skating stride, a physical skill. This improves the player's ability to maintain a better gap control on a one-on-one, which is a mental and tactical skill. You see, it's all interlaced. The trick as a coach is to get the ball rolling and provide the type of learning environment where progress can be made skill upon skill and concept upon concept. So as we wrap up, I just want to take a minute and say thanks for checking out this video, and thank you for participating on our Drills and Skills blog at weisstechhockey.com. If this video has been helpful for you as a player, coach, or parent, please feel free to continue to spread the word to your hockey friends, teammates, and associates. We sure do appreciate it.